heard, my company has been very honored now for 2 years running to be a partner with Fred Kemp and Barry Pavel, the Atlantic Council, in Cyber 912. And I was here last year, of course. I've been in the audience all morning. And last year was good, but let me tell you, I thought this was really great. So we're really honored to be a part of it. When we look at this cyber crisis scenario that we've all been participants in today, I think one of the most important lessons that we can take away is that all actors really need to be at least close to being on the same page, if not fully on the same page. That's not where we are today, and maybe we'll never fully get there, but I at least was very encouraged to learn about a lot more crosstalk, a lot more information sharing that is going on today than even a few short years ago, and I think that's particularly true within the private sector. It's also true government to private sector, though I'm hearing maybe not as much as it could be, and still room for improvement. But it's all about coordination, crosstalk, both with government, with the private sector, at home here in the United States and abroad. So there's really no question, I think, in any of our minds that we live in a world that is heavily, heavily reliant on technology. And in today's global marketplace, information technology is highly vulnerable. And cyber is a tool that can be used and is used now increasingly in an asymmetric fashion, both by those who we would consider traditionally to be strong, as well as those who we may perceive to be quite powerless, but who in fact, with the right cyber tools, can be quite powerful. It can be used randomly, or it can be used in a very coordinated type of a targeted way. So in other words, in today's world, attackers don't need a fleet of ships, and they don't need ground armies with great strength to do a lot of disruption in our way of life. In fact, they can do a lot of destruction and disruption with just a handful of computers and a few servers, as we heard here today. And I'm sure we all learned a lot today, but I thought one of the most interesting points of the discussion was, what should we do? What should the private sector do? What should government do when we can actually pinpoint through our sources the source of the computers, the command and control networks, the servers? You know, what should we do about that? Should the private sector be allowed to do more and sort of take them out, so to speak, without fear of prosecution? Should the government step in and do more? I found that whole discussion to be really, really interesting and provocative, and I couldn't help but think that if there were a Hollywood producer in the audience, they would be conceiving of the next great Bruce Willis Die Hard with the botnets, I think, would be the next big movie out there. So I think it's like the big topic of the day is what to do. And I also found the part about the triple witching day very interesting. I didn't really understand it well, but I'm definitely afraid of it. So I just wanted to thank you in advance for keeping me awake tonight. When we look at the impact of technology in our world and what happens when it's disrupted, we realize that the old rules and the conventions simply don't apply as they used to apply. And what starts out as a relatively minor disruption, if we're not careful, could really escalate into something much more serious, to a shooting war in which people really die. And of course, nobody wants that to happen, but it could happen if we were to allow it to get out of control. There's so many actors on the world scene today, not only nation against nation, but also other independent groups, and sometimes nations that could be backing up independent groups surreptitiously. The Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation and Homeland Security Committees recently held a joint hearing on cybersecurity, and our committee chairman, Senator Rockefeller, emphasized the need to collaborate. And again, that's really what today was all about. And one of the reasons why, again, we at SAIC are so happy to be collaborating with the Atlantic Council on the Cyber Statecraft Initiative. Another reason, and I just want to give a quick shout out on this, why we're so happy to be in partnership with you all, is because of the Cyber 912 Student Challenge, which is upcoming within the next few months. And we mentioned that we have some students, Naval Academy students here in the room, there's some NDU folks around, and then there's some students elsewhere in the building who are with us remotely. We're really glad to have all of you here today. because you are the new wave of problem solvers that are the up-and-comers, and we need you to be ready. In some ways, you may be readier, as was pointed out, than some of the folks in power today, but we really need you to be ready for the future as this becomes more and more complicated. So we hope that you will look into that Cyber 912 Student Challenge, take it on, come back and be with us on it. There is a $5,000 prize, so, you know, that whole carrot and stick thing. So I see the Naval Academy graduate guys, they're definitely going to be with us on this one. So we look forward to having you follow up on that and be those next generation leaders. So in sum, we thank you, Fred, for the great partnership with the Atlantic Council. We're looking forward to continuing it on in the future. And thanks, Jason, for such a great job on such a terrific event. Really, really important national issues and priorities, and we need to work together, as has been pointed out so frequently here today. So thank you so much, and travel safe, everyone.